what you think about modern spoiler culture and our collective attitude towards it, it can be incredibly annoying having a movie needlessly spoiled totally out of nowhere when you weren't actively seeking the information out, especially if it's a movie you were soon planning to watch. And while it's not uncommon for films to be spoiled by, say, merchandise prepared months ahead of time, sometimes the spoiling comes from a most bizarre and unexpected source. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for What Culture, here with the 10 strangest ways movies got spoiled. And just to address the irony that may well end up happening in this video, there may be spoilers ahead. Number 10. Sylvester Stallone tweeted the last page of the script, Creed. Though it's not uncommon for outside parties to inadvertently spoil movies, it is rare for one of the stars to do the damage themselves. But that's what Sylvester Stallone did in December 2014 when he tweeted an image showing off the final page of the script to Rocky spin-off Creed a whole 3 weeks before it was set to start shooting. Stallone seemingly didn't appreciate the fidelity of modern phone cameras, as any of his millions of Twitter followers could simply flip the image, zoom in, and read everything on the page. And so this image not only spoiled that, spoiler alert, Adonis Creed would win his climactic fight, but more surprisingly, that Rocky would battle cancer throughout the film and seemingly makes it to the end of the movie alive. Though some fans initially believed Stallone to be simply toying with them, both of those plot points ended up being totally legitimate. There are worse things to spoil than Rocky movies, which are rarely jam-packed with surprises as it is, but all the same, it's mind-bogglingly careless to think that people wouldn't take a closer look at that script page. Number 9. The musical score's track listing, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, this one's so blatantly thoughtless, it's hard not to laugh today. Even if back in 1999 it was no chuckling matter for millions of aggrieved Star Wars fans. John Williams' incredible score for Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace was released over 2 weeks before the hugely anticipated sequel hit cinemas. And because spoiler culture apparently didn't exist at the turn of the millennium, the track titles went ahead and lifted the veil on one of the movie's biggest moments. The 15th and 16th tracks on the album are respectively entitled Qui-Gon's Noble End and The High Council Meeting and Qui-Gon's Funeral, making it hilariously clear that Qui-Gon Jinn dies in the sci-fi epic's climax. What could possibly be gained by titling these tracks this way, rather than just naming them more ambiguously? It's not even like the album was leaked. It was commercially released 15 days before The Phantom Menace came out, and seemingly passed through many hands without anyone questioning this obvious own goal. Number 8. The twist was freely reported years before release, Argylle. Here's a really odd one. Though Matthew Vaughn's new spy action at Argylle was entirely centered around the mysterious identity of its titular secret agent, the answer was given away for free almost 3 years earlier. Argylle was first announced in June 2021 with a press release which straight up revealed that the movie was about a novelist with amnesia who discovers she's actually a mega spy. It was probably for the best then that Argylle took so long to actually hit screens, giving casual observers enough time to forget that logline altogether. Though of course, the internet being the internet, many remembered that press release, in turn sucking a lot of the fun out of the whole who is Agent Argylle mystery. Although granted, having Argylle turn out to be writer Ellie Conway was probably the most obvious route the story could have gone. It probably should have just been a cat, honestly. Number 7. Rosie O'Donnell spoiled it on national TV because she hated it. Fight Club. Whether spiteful or just thoughtless, it's maddening that Rosie O'Donnell spoiled the twist of David Fincher's Fight Club on national TV, seemingly purely because she didn't like the movie. The very same week that Fight Club was released, O'Donnell reviewed it on her daytime talk show, The Rosie O'Donnell Show, not only expressing her disdain for the film, but straight up revealing that Edward Norton's protagonist had a split personality disorder. O'Donnell indignantly goes on to say, quote, "I'm giving away the ending, but I don't care because I hated it," and then continues to dish details on the ending, implying that Tyler Durden is the protagonist's other personality before giving away the finale's climactic gunshot and explosion. On the film's DVD commentary, Pitt called O'Donnell's decision to spoil the twist ending, quote, "unforgivable," and when discussing the matter over 20 years later, O'Donnell suggested she should be more careful when speaking negatively about films in the future. Way to miss the point there, Rosie. It's not that you trashed the movie, it's that you spoilt it recklessly. I mean, you might have hated the movie, but you did see it, it. What's the first rule about Fight Club, Rosie? You don't talk about Fight Club! Number 6. The Sony Pictures hack, Spectre. Literally days before James Bond film Spectre was set to start shooting, a draft of the film's screenplay was leaked online as part of an extensive data hack at Sony Pictures. And though this leaked script was an early draft, which deviated significantly from the final one, a shooting schedule which was also leaked confirmed the persistent rumour that Christoph Waltz's villain was actually 007's iconic nemesis Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Given that this schedule was dated for early November, almost exactly a month before filming began, there wasn't any doubt that fans were looking at the final, locked version of the movie story with regard to Blofeld. And so MGM's closely guarded secret was out in the open before a single frame of the film had even been shot. As a result, for the entire year between this leak and Spectre's release, fans were simply left waiting for this thoroughly anticlimactic shock to play out. Number 5. The tagline spoiled the twist, Ender's Game. This one's almost insane enough to be genuinely brilliant, by hiding the twist in plain sight in the movie's marketing, but not quite. The posters and trailers for sci-fi action film Ender's Game prominently featured the tagline, "This is not a game," which at face value might simply seem like a fun play on the movie's title in an attempt to sell it in a cool way. But in actuality, it's an unequivocal spoiler for the movie's climactic twist that the simulation protagonist Ender has been partaking in against the alien race known as the Formics was actually a real combat scenario, and he's just unknowingly committed genocide against the Formics. Again, it's almost genius, but the tagline was ultimately a little too cute for its own good, as even many who hadn't read Orson Scott Card's acclaimed source material cottoned on to what the big reveal would be before the movie came out. Number 4. A loose-lipped extra spilled the beans, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. If you're wondering why the extras who appear in Star Wars and Marvel movies keep stum about the very spoilerific details they're made privy to, it's because they're typically made to sign ironclad non-disclosure agreements, which will ensure the full might of Disney's legal team come down upon them if they get chatty. But that apparently didn't matter to Tyler Nelson, an extra who freely spoiled the plot of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull shortly after shooting wrapped. Nelson revealed numerous key plot points to his hometown newspaper, the Edmond Sun, including the revelation that Shia LaBeouf would be playing Indiana Jones's son. This prompted the film's producers to file a lawsuit against Nelson, who had signed an NDA, resulting in an undisclosed settlement and Nelson reportedly being blacklisted from major movie projects. On one hand, it's tough not to feel at least a little bad for a young guy whose entire acting career got torpedoed by spoiling a mediocre Indiana Jones sequel, but on the other, the filmmakers clearly took secrecy seriously enough to have him sign an NDA, so come on, dude. Number 3. The French title spoils the ending, The Shawshank Redemption. Sometimes it's as simple as a movie's international title being way more forthcoming with information than the original English language one. Case in point, we have The Shawshank Redemption, whose original title is ambiguous enough to make it unclear whether or not Andy Dufresne successfully escapes from Shawshank State Prison. In France, however, the film is called Les Évadés, which translates to The Escapees, making it abundantly clear that Andy does indeed make it out of Shawshank before film's end. Granted, you can argue it's not a huge shock that Andy completes his mission, but all the same, it's odd for the French title to be so blatantly spoilery when the English language one is so clearly not. In the very least, it does nothing to hamper one's enjoyment of one of the greatest films of all time, so there's that. Number 2. An auction house posted spoilerific props on the week of release, Scream 4. Of all the sources that could possibly spoil a movie, whoever expects an auction house to be the culprit? Well, that's exactly what happened with Scream 4, as on the very week that the hugely anticipated slasher sequel was set to release, an auction website selling off the movie's props posted a ton of spoilerific material. This included bloody clothes revealing all major character deaths, outfits detailing cameos by Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell, and even identifying which actors would be wearing Ghostface robes, in turn revealing the identity of the killers, Jill Roberts and Charlie Walker. Given the huge lengths the Scream movies have gone to in order to avoid leaks, even rewriting Scream 2 on the fly after the plot landed online, it must have been absolutely maddening that a careless auction house gave the whole game away on the damn week of release. Number 1. The DVD cover gives the ending away, Planet of the Apes. Now, to be completely fair here, the twist ending of the original Planet of the Apes, that the alien planet is actually Earth, is so ubiquitously featured throughout pop culture that it's basically impossible not to have learned it through social osmosis by this point. All the same, it's a bit of an odd choice that the sci-fi classic's home video artwork freely gives the twist away, showing the Statue of Liberty poking out of the ground while Charlton Heston's protagonist George Taylor kneels defeatedly in front of it. Sure, you don't have the full context of the sequence from this mere image, but considering the film's title and what we're shown here, it's not that difficult to put 2 and 2 together. Again, you'd be in a distinct minority if you somehow made it to 2024 without knowing Planet of the Apes' all-timer twist, but even so, was it really necessary to include this spoiler on the cover art? I don't think so.